One time I went to the bar with one of my friends. I'd just turned 21, so I hadn't been to many bars at that point. My friend was drinking on the way to the bar, so he was already pretty drunk when we got there. When I sat at the bar, a cute girl came and talked to me and my friend. She said her name was Candace, and I noticed she had a really bright red hair. I assumed she'd dyed it. It was pretty, but unnatural anyways. This girl was flirting with me and my friend. She could tell my friend was already very drunk. To be honest, I played along like I was drunk already too, since it seemed to be working for my friend. I didn't know if she was just trying to get free drinks so I could told her we didn't have money. She offered to buy us drinks. She kept buying us drinks and I started to get confused as to who she liked between me and my friend. My friend went to the bathroom. Before he came back, he was kicked out by the bouncers. He was too drunk. Candace and I went outside with him. She kept telling him to go home with her. He was so out of it he could barely answer her. I told her he was too drunk and that I couldn't let him go anyway. I didn't want him to wake up hungover in some random house with no car and no idea what had happened. Candace kept pushing it, saying that she would take care of him, but I told her no, because I had to stay with him. I was more sober than him. He was my responsibility. I told her the only way he was going anywhere was if I tagged along. I assumed she thought I was jealous or cock-blocking, but my friend could barely stand and lost interest in Candace already at this point. She immediately started flirting with me and offered to get my friend a taxi, drive him home, and said we could go to her place alone. At this point I had a few drinks and I was pretty buzzed, so I agreed. We took my friend to the taxi and walked to her car. I slightly stumbled on the way to her car. "Whoa, you're pretty drunk, huh?" she said, smiling as she held onto my arm. "Yeah," I said. I don't know why, but I just felt slightly shy and anxious. Everything was just happening too easy for me, so I felt uneasy. We got in her car, we drove down the street. "Want to stop at the liquor store and get some more drink? I'll buy, so don't worry," she offered. I didn't want to drink anymore. I was already buzzed. I wanted to be able to carry myself throughout the rest of the night. Sometimes I made myself look stupid when I was drunk, so I didn't want to ruin anything with Candace more than I already did. I told her I was already drunk enough, but she insisted. I didn't want to seem lame, so I told her to get me a pint of liquor with some apple juice to chase it. She went into the store and came out with a lot more than just a pint. I assumed she wanted to drink more also, and that's why she got a fifth instead of a pint. On the car ride we passed the bottle back and forth, but she took tiny sips. I tried to take tiny sips, but she kept passing me the bottle and telling me to drink. I somehow managed to drink all the apple juice and pretended to drink the bottle by spitting the liquor in the apple juice bottle. I tossed the apple juice bottle full of liquor out the window before she saw it. I didn't want her to know I was acting drunker than I already was. I took a couple more sips of liquor and finished the bottle. Throughout the car ride, I called her the wrong name a couple of times to get her reaction out of her. She didn't react to it. She kept just letting me call her Carla without correcting me. For some reason I thought she'd lied to me about her name initially, but I just brushed it off. We drove up to her house. I pretended to trip and stumble into the front door. She helped me walk inside by holding my up. She opened her front door, which was unlocked. We walked into the house. She closed the front door, then locked it. I thought it was strange, but assumed she didn't want anyone walking in on us. I told her that I had to use the bathroom. So I walked into a bathroom, locked the door, and looked in the mirror. I just felt so strange. I felt like something was off. I felt myself becoming more drunk for finishing the bottle earlier. I turned on the sink to make noise and made myself puke up the liquor I drank. I flushed and went to the sink and started drinking tap water out of my hands to sober up. I just didn't want to be drunk, but I still wanted to hook up with Candace, so I wanted to pretend to be drunk. I turned the sink off, and I could hear her talking to someone. "He's drunk as hell, he can barely stand up, you do it." Who was she talking to? And do what? I walked out the bathroom and into the living room. The moment I stepped into the living room, I saw her walking into another room. All I could see was the back of her head, that strange, very bright red hair, go into another room. I didn't see her face or anything. I just saw her kind of walk fast into the room. The living room was pretty dark. "Hey, where you going?" I slurred like I was drunk. She walked back in the dark living room and up to me. "Let's go to my room," she said. I looked at her bright red hair and then into her eyes. They were different. Her face was different. It was another girl with the same hair. That's when I realised it was another girl with the same wig on. It was a wig the whole time. She had changed it with the girl from earlier for whatever reason. My heart felt like it stopped. But I tried to look like I had no idea what was going on. I kind of smiled at her and told her I just need to use the bathroom one more time, and told her sorry, I was so drunk. She said it's fine, just hurry up in there. I went into the bathroom and locked the door. I heard her whisper something to someone again this time. I think I heard a male voice whisper back. I honestly didn't consent on listening to exactly what she said. Something sketchy was going on, and I had to get out of that house. I opened the bathroom window and jumped straight out of it. I ran faster than I've ever run in my life. I didn't look behind me or anything. I just ran and ran through the backyard. I jumped the fence. I ran through someone else's backyard until I hit the road. I ran towards the main road. I kept running down the main road until I saw stars. I called a taxi and went home. I tried to think what happened that night. What was she? Or what were they planning on doing? Why did she tell me a fake name? Why was she trying to get my friend and I so drunk? I thought maybe a robbery. But she kept spending money on us. She kept buying us drinks and even paid for my friend's taxi home. And mostly, why did she wear a wig that she gave to another girl to wear? Who was she talking to? What did it mean? And what was in that room they tried to lure me into? The next day after this incident, I went back to their house with a couple of friends to see just what was going on. Nobody was there. No cars, no people, nothing. Just an empty house. I ended up finding out the house was in a summer rental, and whoever those people were, they broke into that house and used it for that night and never came back. I live in a small cul-de-sac in the middle of nowhere. The next nearest neighbourhood is over 4 miles away. So one night a few years ago, we got over 1.5 feet of snow overnight. We're so far from the main roads, and on the weekend I knew our roads would remain shut and unploughed for some time. I went to my outback deck door to lock. The snow was piling in. It draped over the trees and still heavily falling flurries. So I decided to take some pictures when I noticed footprints leading to my door and turning around. I looked and saw that they came from my neighbour's side and thought that one of their more delinquent kids played a joke as my sledging tube on the railing was popped. I decided I'd wait till later, as it was clearly too early to call their parents. I went on Facebook, and after scrolling for a bit I noticed one of my neighbours closer to the entrance posted, "Did someone knock for me or something at my back door?" I immediately called her, talked and told her I've no idea what happened. I called the first house on the entrance and told him what was going on. He went and checked. Sure enough, they were there too. Everyone started calling each other. I called the family at the far end, and they told me there was no one there. Then I got a call from my next door neighbour. She called the woman that lives next to the end house. She said there were footprints that led to her door, but none led away. We had already called the police at this point, but now we called them back and said that it's an emergency. They told us the roads are still unploughed. They can't send a plough truck to clear the way, as they're a privately owned company. The woman was losing it to one of the husbands across the road from her, texted her to say he was coming over to invite her over. He came, and she left. We put up one guy's live feed motion recording hunting cameras facing all exits. Nothing came out. And around 7 PM a plough truck came, as well as 3 cop cars. The couple she was staying with and her went to the house and stood in the doorway as the police searched. They found nothing. She begged them to keep looking, so they did. 2 of the cops went into the basement again. This time only one came up. He took her to one side of the room, and we could hear hysterical crying. Me and a few of the other guys stared towards the door when several police confronted us. They told us they found someone hiding under a cover opening in the stairwell. She didn't even know that existed. A few minutes later, a scruffy man screaming and kicking came out in handcuffs and was led away. In his little camp, they found blankets she'd just cleaned and put away in the room next to hers. She stayed in our neighbour's house for a long time before going back. Even then, she wouldn't stay alone. She told us to keep an eye out until she sold the house later that summer. He turned out to be a thrill-seeking junkie who was on a probation for assault against a family member. The cops told us that they feel like he didn't want to stay at his apartment after a fight with his roommate and drove off in his roommate's car from the county. In high school, my friends and I were messing around with a Ouija board one night. We'd done it before, and nothing remarkable had ever happened. We usually did it to try and scare each other or our girlfriends. We all just thought it was a joke. That night, there was no one else home except the 7 of us. We were all together around the board. One of the girls there wanted to try it, as she'd never done it before. This time was different though. The board misspelled some of the words the same way every time. It gave answers that seemed really historically accurate for our town. Things we neither knew or cared about. And to cut a long story short, the spirit claimed it was a 10-year-old boy who had died on the property in the 1800s and was buried there too in an unmarked grave. We were all a little freaked out because the board had never been so detailed and consistent. However, we were still skeptical, and we were all assuming one of us was trying to scare the rest. Finally, my friend asked if the spirit could do something to prove he was there with us. It went to yes and spelled out knock. The planchette stopped moving. We just all stared at it silently, and there was a rap 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 on the window right next to us. The lights were on outside, and there was absolutely no one out there. We never touched that fucking thing again.